Well, that was fun and refreshing. It's day 3 of the Evanless Evan and Tiki in his 2-week European trip. Shaun Morash, Tiki Barber, Tommy Lugauer, and Scones here with you for the next 4+ hours, taking you up until 6:25 p.m. Eastern. And Yankees pregame as Cam Schlittler makes his Major League debut in what will be an exciting night.
Slow and steady.
Woo!
That's the way you got to say it. All day long.
All day long. And I urge this to everybody who is on WFAN today and tomorrow to recap. Say it slow. Cam Schlittler. All right. Tiki, 2 wins last night for our New York baseball locals, and we'll try to mix them both in here. We'll get into Juan Soto caring more about money than anything else later on as well. Even some football news that may sour some New York Giant fans later on. But first, I mean, round of applause for the New York Mets. And the opponent does not matter. I don't want to hear that it's just the Baltimore Orioles because it's 162 games and you play who's in front of you.
Right.
To be punched in the mouth like that after a day off and have that implosion inning, and we'll more on that with Mendy and Holmes in a little bit as well. And you lean on your big offensive threats in those points. And Lindor, Alonso, and then, of course, an extra inning Soto. Bingo. Mets bingo. And if the Mets are going to ultimately get to the promised land, it is all about those 3 offensive bats. And those are the kind of wins, again, opponent be damned, that you stash in your pocket and you lean on later on when the times get tougher, the opponents get tougher, and you need that grittiness, that resiliency to say, we've been here before, we've done that. That is a massive, I think, mental comeback win for the Mets last night.
No, it was mainly because as good as Clay Holmes was for 5 innings, that 6th inning was a disaster. He just, and look, you kind of want to blame Mendy, but you also need to steal innings. You need to steal outs, really. Forget innings. You need to steal outs because of how taxed your bullpen has been. And Clay just didn't have it after 5. And you give him credit, the Baltimore Orioles, for just racking up the runs and almost making it seem like a wasted good start and a wasted night for the New York Mets. But I mean, you've been talking about this all season long. The pitching can only take you so far. Eventually, you have to score runs. Yeah, right. You're the Jacob deGrom rule, right? You can throw a almost damn near perfect game, maybe give up 1 run and still lose. That doesn't work anymore. You have to be able to score runs, and you give credit to the Mets' big bats. The top of that lineup, 1, 2, 3, and 4, they did exactly what they wanted to do. Yeah. 11 hits, 12 hits they had throughout the game because Soto's was 12, I think, in the 10th inning. They did what they needed to do to get the victory against a lowly Orioles team, but it's a win nonetheless, and that's all that matters.
And how freeing it must be for Pete Alonso after coming back to the Mets. I think that home run off Devin Williams in the playoffs, and you've seen the moments like this all year. Again, you just trust him in the big spot. You trust that he's going to find a way to come through for you, and just a mammoth 8th inning home run. I mean, you can't say more about Pete Alonso. But to add to what you said, I am going to spin this, and it's going to feel like I'm raining on the Met parade. I promise I'm not. I'm speaking from a place of I've been there before.
Go ahead.
I'm going to tie the Mets into the Yankees and the life I've lived. The Mets are in a new realm now. Tommy has called them Big Brother at times. They are the big spender. They got Juan Soto. What you saw from the Mets last night should be more nights like that where you expect them. They're never out of games. Their bats come back. But to get to that ultimate goal and build a playoff team, build a World Series team, the key, and I've had to learn this, and this is why I yell and scream and Yankee fans sound entitled, you have to see through the positives to find out what's missing and what's lacking. And I do think last night was a reminder of some things that can go awry for the Mets that, you have plenty of time to clean up. I'm going to rattle off that list for you, Tiki. Tell me if I'm crazy. Number 1, you alluded to the Clay Holmes situation with Mendy. I love that Mendy manages with his gut. We have said this. We've said this a couple times this week. We've said it a couple times over the last couple years. His gut the last couple games, whether it was not walking Judge or last night, he stuck with Clay Holmes. You could tell Clay Holmes was getting gassed a little too long, and maybe that's a product not trusting the pen. I believe at some point this year you're going to have an honest conversation with Senga and with Mania coming back. I don't think Clay Holmes is finishing the year in the Mets rotation.
Really?
I really don't. Well, I think these innings are wearing on him. I don't think he's going to be able to get through 3 times in an order.
Yeah, I think it's not, to me, it's not that. I do think he finishes this season as a starter, Clay Holmes, because he's been good. He's been at times your best and most consistent pitcher, but you also have to go into every one of these games, if you're Mendy, and say, he's getting me max 5 innings. That's what he's getting me. I know I need to try to save our bullpen. We're doing gymnastics to get these guys up and down and trusting some young arms from your minor league system to come up and fill that void. But you look at his we've got 5 starts, 5 innings, 5 1/3, 5 innings, 4 2/3, 5 innings. He's getting you 5 innings. That's it. And even if his pitch count is not, 90 at 71, I think he started the 6th inning with, he's still going to get to that 3rd time around, and it's not going to be there. And I don't know if that's fatigue or learning how to be a complete game starter, because this is only his first year as a starting pitcher. Mindy's got to know 5 innings is max.
Yes, there's no doubt about it. You can't push him any further than that. And I think when you examine what the Mets are going to need at the trade deadline, and I know we are going to talk about that ad nauseum over the next couple weeks, the idea is the Mets are going to need to bulk up their bullpen. There's no doubt about it. Right. Shocker, most contenders are. We talked about the Yankees with that as well. When you think about Manaea coming back, and you think about Senga coming back, and obviously you have David Peterson right there, and you start doing the math, and Montas, that was a good start the other day with the Yankees, on how many starters you're going to need to get through a postseason, right? Because, again, the ultimate goal is a World Series. Clay Holmes, you need to start weighing. Would Clay Holmes be better suited for this Mets team starting the 4th game in a playoff series where he gives you 5 innings, or is Clay Holmes going to be better than any bullpen arm you could acquire where you start to transition at the end of August and September, and that could be a major weapon for you out of the pen?
Shaun, I'm telling you, that's just a massive slap in the face. Like, hey, Clay, come here for a second. Let's talk for a minute. Look over there to your left, or just right over there. Smack! That's what that'll feel like. Yes!
But you're not a band.
You've spent this entire offseason. You sold him this bill. We're going to make you a starting pitcher. We believe in you. We got this pitching lab. Jeremy Hefner is the best pitching coach in baseball. He survives all these regimes, as we've always talked about. He's going to get you right. And Clay Holmes got off to a fantastic start as a starting pitcher after spending most of his career as a reliever, save for that first year in Pittsburgh, which was a failure. And so you look at Clay and you say, we believe in you. So now all of a sudden you're going to get to when it matters and say, we don't believe in you. And here's why your idea feels trollish.
I swear it's not.
But here's why it's not going to work.
Okay.
Who's going on short rest? Like, this isn't the CC Sabathias of the 09 Yankees who's, you need me to pitch on 3 days rest? I got you. Who's doing it? Senga's not doing it.
No, he's
not. You're going to trust Manaea or Montas, one of those guys doing it? No, David Peterson?
But
who's pitching on short rest if you're going with a 3-man rotation when it matters in the postseason?
I don't think you are. I think you're going to pitch Senga. I think you're going to pitch Peterson. I think you're going to pitch Manaea. And if you're asking me to flip a coin,
lucky.
Okay. But no matter what, a starter is going to end up ultimately in that bullpen when you're accomplishing the ultimate goal.
Right.
And again, bear with me. I understand why this sounds foolish, but I think a win like that is a reminder of the ultimate goal for the Mets.
Right.
Do I want to trust Montas, who's never done it before? McGill, when he comes back in mid-August, who's not that guy?
McGill's got to be in the pen.
Okay, right. But I would flip the coin and go, give me Montas starting that 4th game rather than 5 innings of Holmes. I'd rather not waste 5 innings of Holmes in a playoff series and know that I could count on him to maybe be my second biggest, most reliable reliever. And I don't think it's a slap in the face from this standpoint. We are already seeing that he can't get pushed past 5 innings. That's not his fault. This is a transition year for him.
Of course it is.
And I don't think by going to him in mid-August, September, if this continues down this trajectory, I don't think it's a slap in the face because you're not telling him that experiment's over. He's going to go right back to being a starter, and hopefully you build up more innings the next year. But I think it makes the Mets the most well-rounded team to try to accomplish their goal this year. Because you even saw it last night. You just cross your fingers at everybody in that bullpen. Who are you acquiring at the trade deadline in the bullpen that would be better suited than a guy you have the answer for that is showing you can only go 5 innings right now?
Not with everybody else who's in this race also looking for those top-end relievers.
You have a crazy internal option that you can go to because you're going to be getting Senga and Manaea back.
It just feels like you're taking steps backward. And I get it. You might be taking steps back ultimately to take steps forward, but I'm just trying to think of it from a Clay Holmes perspective. If you're Clay Holmes, you've been successful. He's an all-star as a reliever, as a closer. So you know he had that success. Last year with the Yankees, it just fell apart. We had zero trust in him as a closer.
But you know what Clay Holmes did last year?
What's that?
Kept his mouth shut and was a team player.
Of course. I'm not saying Clay Holmes
great guy, great
is
team
not going
player.
to go out and do what he's not going to Marcus Stroman this and basically
I'm a starter.
I'm a starter. He's not doing that. But I do feel like internally that it feels like a little bit of a slight. And it's the last thing you want to do for a team that has huge aspirations for a guy who honestly felt like he was reinventing his baseball career. It's just truly what it was. I'm not saying it was a failure with the Yankees or as a closer because he had so much success. But at some point, even when you have success, you start saying, I need to do something different. I want to reinvent myself. And Clay Holmes has reinvented himself as a starter. Now, he doesn't have that length yet to get to 6 or 7 innings. And ultimately, he's leaving his bullpen with way too many outs to get, 12 in this case. But it's just who he is right now. I think you have to trust him because he's been so good as a starter. I think the alternatives, and whether it's Montas or Minaya, who we haven't even seen yet, I don't know if that's going to be better than the option Clay Holmes gives you, even if he's only getting you 5 innings.
And obviously the other caveat is health, right? When Sega and Minaya come back, those guys got to be healthy too. Which is, another thing you don't want to. You're not going to root for. You're not rooting for injuries. Obviously, that's a stupid question. But assuming health may be a mistake when it comes to a Kodai Senga, and that would change everything as well. Here's the other problem, and we saw it last night. The Mets have a Mark Vientos problem right now. they just do.
Well, maybe not. Keep going.
Okay. So we all know his defense leaves a lot to be desired at third base to begin with. Yep. And when you watch Ronnie Mauricio make a play like he made last night, you're reminded of, man, I don't know. If Vientos ain't hitting and he's not giving you anything defensively, we might have a better internal option. And as far as the hitting goes...
And by the way, Mauricio's been pretty damn good these last few games.
Yeah. The Mets, between the Beatty, Mauricio, Vientos trio, are dealing from a position of strength. It's kind of, which one stands out the most. And last year, Vientos was the quote-unquote rock star, like Positive Tommy gave us. You're starting to see signs. I know it's a very, very small sample size since he came back and he survived getting sent down. Ronnie Mauricio feels like he has a chance to be it this year for the Mets at third base.
Let's not forget, 2 years ago, he was that guy. He was that it. It was like, man, we can't wait to see Ronnie Mauricio. When is this guy going to step onto the scene and just take this opportunity and fly with it? And then he tears his ACL in summer ball, or is it winter? No, I think it's winter. Winter ball. And so it's like, and then once you tear an ACL, maybe you get a year, you come back, and then who knows? You're basically restarting. Yet he did all of that, went through that trial, tribulation. He's back now. He's been put in a position where he's got to perform, and he's performing. Obviously offensively because he hit the home run last night, but his defense is spectacular.
Yes.
Like that throw from what inning is that, 6th inning? I think it was. It was unbelievable.
The arm talent's there.
Athletic, right, on the money, confident, didn't even think about it. And so I think Ronnie Mauricio, while he's interchangeable at second, he easily could be just placed right there at third base. You leave Beatty at second. Hell, Jeff McNeil's playing hellified center field right now. Sliding catch he had a couple weeks ago. He had that Robin home run. Right? It's almost like they lucked into an infield combination that might really work for them. And while Mark Vientos feels like he's failing based on what we saw a year ago, maybe he's just your right-handed pitch hitting option.
Could be. He could be.
He's just that utility platoon situational guy.
And I'm not giving up on Mark Vientos. We saw too much last year. But what I'm saying is this is now transitioning here as we hit July from the experimental phase of the Mets to what is the best version of the Mets.
Right.
And if the Mets had no problem at all, and it was deserved sending Francisco Alvarez for a fixer-upper down in AAA, I don't know why you wouldn't look at Vientos.
I kind of like Terrence behind the dish. His ball at,
but my point is, to me, the Mets have already proven it doesn't matter what level prospect you were for us. We're doing what's best for this baseball team right now.
Well, you have to.
You have to.
At this point, you have to.
Last night's a perfect example. You give Vientos a chance when he pinch hits for Winker, goes 0 for 2. When you have to, then take the bat out of his hands and bring in Jankowski to bunt for Mark Vientos there. I don't know how you're telling me you don't have a Mark Vientos problem. Well, you don't trust him.
Well, it's a problem, but it's not really a problem because you can still just situationally use him.
Yes.
You're not relying on Mark Vientos to be your everyday third baseman. You're not relying on him to be, all right, we got a situation, we need a hit, despite Pete Alonso's urging, he's not gonna be that in that position as often as I think we may be thinking he is because of what he did a year ago. It's not like with the Yankees, who now have Peraza at third base, who played hellified defense last night.
What a smoking single he had to drive in that first run.
Whatever. It doesn't even matter. His defense is elite. But the Yankees might have a third base problem. Or an infield issue. I don't think that the Mets have an infield issue because Vientos is kind of just like gravy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So maybe problem is the wrong word. It's more of a dilemma.
Yeah.
What is best for Mark Vientos and what is best for the Mets? And you're right. Ultimately, him being that right-handed bat off the bench, that just gives you bench depth. But for developing him right now, I'm riding the hot hand with Ronnie Mauricio, and I'm considering after this All-Star break sending Vientos down like I did Alvarez and getting reps every day to try to get better defensively. Mm-hmm. And, of course, figure out what the heck has gone wrong offensively.
Right. I don't know if you're going to – to me, he feels situational to me. And it sucks because of what we saw a year ago. Obviously, it's where he started. Situational right-handed bat for the Mets. He worked his way into an everyday player. We thought he was going to be the next coming of whoever, and it just didn't pan out for this year. But to me, he feels like gravy. And so I'm not worried about him because of all the other options that are actually playing really well right now.
What is the best option for the New York Mets at a couple of those spots? Are you willing to keep running Clay Holmes out there till the end of the season for 5 innings as a starter? Or should you, after a night like that last night where you see he just doesn't have it in him past the 6th inning, transition him to the pen? Tiki says no. I say start thinking about it to try to build a real World Series contender because you're not getting a better bullpen arm than that. And the Mark Vientos, Ronnie Mauricio question as the big bats of the Mets come back in a big way. Also today, for both Yankee and Met fans, we will monitor the Phillies have a day game. Boy, what a loss for the Phillies last night. And the Blue Jays getting the White Sox Invitational again as they win even a shortened game.
Dude, what is this, 10 in a row now?
It doesn't end. And that one in 7 innings just felt insulting, too. Right. Yankee fans, don't worry. We'll tackle your big night, a refreshing night as the bats wake up and more. And plus even some football, as I said. We're coming to you live from the Town Fair Tire Studio.